What is going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. My name is Adam Canton. I'm a realtor in Minnesota, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about what happened in 2025 in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro housing market, and try and see if I can look in the crystal ball a little bit, explain some stats, details, things like that, and help you have a better idea of what 2026 will look like. If you've been paying attention at all to the Minnesota market, you'll have seen in 2025 that it never really crashed, but it never really boomed either. It kind of was a slow, calm course correction. Inventory improved a little bit. Buyers had a little bit more opportunity, and it just kind of was a little bit calmer of a reset. So let me dive into that a little bit more and explain what I mean. Inventory slowly improved over the previous years, which is great. However, it wasn't drastic at all. It was just a gradual improvement. The highs in late September, August, typically when there is the most homes on the market, were slightly more than 2024, as well as even in the lows in early January, February, were higher than the previous year. The reason being is a lot of people are locked into really great rates, which I'm sure, again, this is not new information. So sellers could be a little more picky because they don't have to sell necessarily. And that is what keeps a lot of them on the sidelines, is because they're not confident they can get whatever number they feel is necessary or they would like for their home. And buyers are on the other side of that coin, arguing the opposite point, to where they've been beat by COVID and the market and a lack of wage growth, and they're frustrated because they're like, houses need to be more affordable, which, my personal opinion, deeply in that camp as well. We need better housing affordability and better wage growth. So that being said, let's talk about the backdrop of what is likely to happen in 2026. It's likely that we'll continue to have gradual rate decline, which will obviously improve interest rates for buyers and make homes a little more affordable for everyone, which is great. However, typically, because of that, interest rates dropping, more buyers will jump in the market because affordability broadens. Another factor in what will determine how 2026 will go is the jobs market. It has been cooling over 2025 and will continue to cool down, it seems, in 2026 with layoffs, companies tightening their belts. So that is another big factor that is hurting the sellers from being able to sell their home to more people. Because if you have more opportunity, like we said during COVID, it's more likely you're going to get your asking price. That being said, it is extremely unlikely that we're going to see anything like a crash, but we are more likely to have a market adjustment continue as it is now. More of a knocking off the peak of this mountain that we've been climbing over the last 5 years. The third and final thing that I think a lot of people don't think about as a reason why the market will do what it is going to do or not is mentality of especially the sellers right now. If they are not convinced and they can afford their home and are not forced to sell, that it is a good time to sell, the market will continue to buck back on buyers and continue to be tight and make it more difficult for more buyers to afford a home. The more sellers are comfortable in their earnings, profits from selling their home, the more likely we're going to get more homes on the market. I feel, as someone who was lucky enough to take advantage and get a home just before COVID wrecked the economy, that even if the market starts to dip down and it becomes more and more of a buyer's market, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's okay. The amount of appreciation that a lot of homeowners, especially homeowners before COVID, back in the 2010s, 2015s, 2000s, even prior to that they have in their homes right now, is substantial, as many of us know, and will help them get the next home or use it for retirement, whatever it might be. The third and final item that I feel we need to take in consideration of what the 2026 market is going to look like is the psychology of sellers and how they feel about this market. That is no longer a aggressive multiple offer, you got to get an offer in before it even gets listed kind of market. And to see how sellers truly feel about maybe not getting everything they hope to get for their home. As I've seen for the last few years, those adjustments have happened. Sellers have been making concessions. And it sounds scary to a lot of people who are selling their homes. But with the appreciation from COVID and even before that a lot of people have in terms of equity in their homes, a small market adjustment or a small concession should be no issue. But really cracking the code for those sellers and helping them understand that if they want to sell, that it's still a good market, it's a very good market for them, then it's fine. That being said, if rates ease in 2026, which they're likely to do, obviously more buyers will be able to afford to jump back in the market. And that will push back on that demand aspect of it and hopefully encourage more sellers to jump in the market as well. What does 2026 actually look like? What can we guess? Well, we're expecting more listings than 2025, which I think is pretty understandable with builders continuing to increase supply, as well as more sellers seeing better rates and seeing how it's still a strong market for them with their substantial equity in many homes. A big question on 2026, though, is prices and what those will look like. I'm expecting them to do a slow but healthy increase as well of about 3 to 5% over the previous year. So this is why I don't believe prices will fall substantially or much at all. Inventory is going to stay balanced and under flat levels in terms of that monthly volume. Sellers aren't distressed, especially with the rates being so many rates being so low, as well as so many homes being paid off. And Minnesota jobs in general remain fairly stable. And so why prices won't spike either is because buyers are more cautious, wage growth is a little slower, and higher rates still cap a lot of affordability for many people. So to close, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this and what the 2026 market looks like is you need to be prepared. You need to be educated, and you need to take your time and think about decisions. It is not a market to rush into. It is not a market to expect aspirational things in terms of rates or prices or seller concessions or multiple offers. All those things may happen and could happen to you, but are not very likely to happen. It is a much more stable, calm market, which is good, but it's not fully healed yet. We have a long road to go. And so being educated and knowledgeable about what's going on is the most important thing you can do. If you have any questions, want to learn more, like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, do all those things that help me get the word out to more people and why Minnesota is a great place to live and how we can build a better community. Thank you so much for watching my first video of 2026. I'm looking forward to doing many, many more, and I'll see you guys later.